My mom is a very, very strong mother, like kind but strong. Like in my life, a very, very rare occasion that we saw mom crying. Almost 13 years ago, I decided to come to Australia, do a PhD. I'm in the airport, the whole family is there. My mom is as strong as usual. My mom hugged me and she just told me that be strong, you're gonna experience new things and it's gonna be good for your life and for your career. I said goodbye, I passed the gate, and the last moment when I wanted to wave, the last wave, say goodbye to my family, my mom burst into tears. She started crying out loud, like the whole airport could hear my mom crying. That is the last scene I remember from being in the airport. All I can hear in that 15 hours of flight is my mom crying. I close my eyes, all I see is my mom crying. I've already decided that I hate this country. I ate nothing, I drank nothing, and I didn't watch anything. And then 5 minutes before landing in Sydney, there was a very nice gentleman sitting next to me the entire flight, and he was enjoying all these complimentary drinks and foods and all these new released movies. So he decided to start speaking with me, asking about why I'm coming to Australia. I started explaining about my PhD project, which back then my PhD was supposed to be on a magnesium alloy to reduce the weight of cars for less carbon emission. And believe me, it was a really cool project. And then the guy kind of argued, and he asked me if I'm coming to the right country, because apparently Australia is not a car manufacturing country. So now I'm an international student, my English was not really good, and I'm coming to this country for the first time. I'm trying to be confident. My mom told me be strong, and I'm trying to defend my project. I said, we are researchers, so what we do in the universities is gonna impact the entire globe. So it doesn't really matter which country I'm going to, the research matters. He didn't give up. He asked me, who's funding my project? Who's funding my scholarship? Which was Australian government. He said, interesting, because that is actually taxpayers' money. And he said, that's my money. That's my people's money. And you are spending my people's money on a project that is going to benefit the companies in Germany, or is going to benefit the companies in Japan. And then just like, yeah, I don't think you should be doing that. I started thinking about why I'm doing here and why I'm going to do this project. Actually, I don't want to do this project anymore because I don't want to have the same conversation for another 4 years with every single Australian that I'm going to meet. So I started searching about what is the main national challenge in Australia. Skin cancer. Skin cancer, which is a national cancer in Australia. What if we have a sensor which can measure how long you've been exposed to what level of UV, and once we reach to the safe limit, the end user will receive a text message being informed that they better seek shade or they better get back inside. And that's how, in 3 weeks' time, I changed my PhD topic. And I could stay in this country. And I made peace with people. What we are presenting in this work is that we have a self-assembled nanostructure made of zinc oxide. So we have a technique named flame spray pyrolysis. We burn things, there's a combustion, there's atomization, and then we create nanoparticles inside the fire. The fire is hot, the substrate is cold, the particles goes up and they sit on the surface, which is perfect because the particles move based on a Brownian motion. And then when they move like a Brownian motion, they move based on the diffusion, which means the particles sit here, then the next one sit here, the next one sit here. You end up with a very porous, spongy structure compared to if you have a ballistic regime, which the particle sit here, the other one sit here, you end up with a dense film. This porosity is perfect to be used as a sensing device. Why? Because with sensors, we need more surface area. When I have a porous structure, then it means I have a huge surface to volume ratio. Then that gives me opportunity to interact with the target molecules or light or whatever that I'm trying to detect. The main challenge is the particles just sit next to each other, but there is always a wall between these two particles. So when an electron wanted to move from one particle to another particle, they hit this wall, and that wall is a grain boundary or the particle interface. We need to get rid of that wall. So then when my sensor is reacting with the target molecule, I can easily get the electrons moving from one particle to another one, to another one, to another one. So then I can actually see the signal in my multimeter. Traditionally, what we do, we make the sensors, we have all these particles there, the film is acting as a sensor. We have these particles, we put them in the oven, we heat them. We heat them a little bit, we're gonna have a localized melting. So then they kind of join into each other. We call it nanoscale welding or nano joining or necking. But this is a very traditional way of doing that. Imagine if your material is deposited on a polymeric substrate. If you put it in the oven, 300 degrees, the polymer is just melted. Or imagine if your material is deposited on a thin nano-electronic device. If you put it in the oven, it's melted. So it's not really practical for different application. We needed to do something different. I could not figure out any potential solution during my own PhD. My entire PhD, I put everything in the oven. My PhD student, Jaden, when he was doing his research, which was continuing my project on the UV photodetectors, apparently in the lab, he had all these films or the sensors ready on the bench, and he was cleaning one of his glasswares using pure ethanol. And then one of the splash, a tiny droplet from the ethanol landed on one of his sensors. And then he saw that. He visibly saw that droplet sitting there, being sucked by the film, and then the color, like the reflection of the film on the glass changed. Initially, he assumed that sensor is damaged, it's gone. But his curiosity got a better, it kind of came to his rescue. He wanted to know what happened. Maybe there is something good coming out of it. When he looked at it under the microscope, he realized that the structure is actually changed, but in a very unique way. He was reorganizing or reordering the structure in a way that it could be seen as a unique pattern or a unique way of distributing particles on a surface. He tested it and he realized that sensor worked way better. And I give you the exact statistics, 720 times higher response compared to a sensor which was next to it and it was safe from the droplet of ethanol. We were wondering what was special about that droplet and how that droplet landed. There were a lot of optimization, there were a lot of testing. How much of the droplet? How we can deposit the droplet? Can we drop it directly on the top of the film, or do we have to drop it on the side? Is 10 microliter, which is a tiny droplet, is it too big or is it too small? It took us 2 years research to figure out what is the recipe. Because even when we figure out what is a droplet, what is the size, how we can drop it, when we drop it on the sensors made at different conditions, we never got the same data. We even realized the sensor should have a very specific initial structure for that droplet to change it into that pattern that we wanted. We put a droplet of ethanol. The ethanol has a very low surface area, so the ethanol will be absorbed by the film. So the ethanol will find its way, go inside this porous structure, kind of going inside as a tsunami. You can actually look at it as a wave of water in a tsunami, and it's kind of restructuring everything. But then it is coming very slowly but powerful. The ethanol is restructuring the macro scale. The ethanol droplet on the surface of these two particles start evaporating. The force of the ethanol evaporating is actually pulling these two particles into each other. So then these two particles in the interface, they're going to actually be joined into each other. And the connection between these two, the nano joining between these two, is so strong and it is so perfectly done. When the liquid is evaporating, the amount of liquid within that gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And this less liquid is creating a pressure over there, which is a kind of a Laplace pressure. We've done the mathematical calculation. What is the amount of liquid between the two particles? What is the surface of the particle? And if you do the calculation and you calculate the force applied on the surface when the liquid is evaporating and pulling these two particles into each other, it's huge. We're talking about, in the nanoscale, a gigapascal pressure and force applied on the particles, which are only 10 nanometer. And if you apply gigapascal on 10, you're really making them, forcing them to weld into each other.
If gigapascal was to hit a person, what would happen to them?
I think even the very strong metals, they can only handle a very small, low level of a gigapascal. They can be used for many applications, including sensing application. So we use them for light sensing, like for UV sensing as the first application, because that was the main PhD project for Jaden. But later we also use them for gas sensing and for other sensing application. So how we do the UV photo detection test? We have the sensor there. There are interdigital electrodes. The clusters are on the surface, and then there are two pads of the electrode which we connected to the multimeter. We apply a tiny voltage, very small, 0.5 volt, to make sure that the electron has the driving force to move around. In the normal condition, without the existence of the UV light, there is no free electron, or there is a very, very small free electron, because it's not conductive, it's a semiconductor. But once you shine the UV light, you're actually generating electron and holes. And that extra electrons start moving around, which we consider it as a signal, that you get all the electrons move around without any need to put it into the oven and to heat it up. It actually works even better than the high temperature processed sample. So this one works better, and there is no need for energy consumption using heating, 12 hours of annealing. Everything can be done in less than a minute with 5 microliter of ethanol. There, evaporate, done. And after 2 years, not only we published several good papers from the research, but also we patented. Both me and Jaden, we are the inventor of that paper, and the patent right now has been licensed by 2 different companies for 2 different applications. This great sensing performance that we receive from the new structure that we designed help us significantly in order to create a wearable technology out of the device. You know, one of the main problems we have with wearable devices is the battery, is the power consumption. And when you need to apply a higher voltage, I'm talking about like a 3, 4, 5 volt to your sensor in order to get a readable signal from the sensor, you're actually having a very high, the issue of the power consumption. We managed to reduce the applied voltage from somewhere around 5 volt, which was needed, down to 0.1 volt. And that is a significant reduction. That is the biggest impact of this discovery in terms of the real world application.
If you met that man on the plane, again, you recognized him and you saw him, or he's watching, now, and you wanted to say something to him, what would you say to him?
Unfortunately, I might not be able to recognize him because at that time, I did not know that 5 minutes conversation is going to change my life. And I did not pay attention to who I am talking to. But if he recognized me, I would love to get in touch with him because there were like maybe 2 or 3 moments in my entire life that something as normal completely changed my life for good.